SBA Publications.
Hello everyone, how are you all? I hope you all are happy and healthy in your home. And I hope you all are doing very well in your studies as well. This is your mentor Suni Sati, and today with me we are going to start our chapter number 8, and the name of our chapter is Basic Animation in Flash. So in this class we are going to learn how we can make animations and little clips. So let's start our chapter without any delay. Today in this class, we will learn, understand and organize a timeline, understand, animate using keyframes, frame by frame animation, and twin animation. So, firstly, we are going to learn about timeline and frames. The timeline is above the stage is the harsh workspace. The timeline, which contains layers and framers, help you organize assets in your document and also controls documents and also controls a document's content over time. Flash document like movies or sounds, which is measured using frames. The red playhead selects which part of the timeline is visible on the stage. Open basic animation, that is demo, frame by frame .fla and drag the playhead back and forth. This is called scrubbing the timeline. So, keyframes are the only frames you may edit. All keyframes have small circles on them. Keyframes with visible content have solid circles, while blank keyframes have hollow circles. Click on the several different keyframes and watch the content on the stage change. You can hide or lock any layer by clicking on the dot under the eyeball. To hide or to lock, click on the eyeball or lock directly to hide or lock all layers at once. So here we have the little understanding picture in which we can see that this is your hide layer, this is your lock layer, this is your blank keyframe, this is your frame number, this is your keyframes with content, and this is your payhead. Okay, now here we can see adding frames, keyframes and blank keyframes. So we can even add our frames, keyframes and blank keyframes in our project. So when you want to build an animation, you will need to add keyframes to the timeline at the in point in time in which you need to make an edit. And there are two main ways to do this. First, you can right click at the junction of the layer and frame and then choose keyframe option from the shortcut menu, or you can choose insert timeline from the menus. Once you have pre-selected the proper layer and frame, the following are shortcuts you may use to add different types of frame. First we have insert frame. So here again we are providing a shortcut key to do the same. So F5 is used to insert frame. This adds frames that extend from the previous frame to the selected frame. It extends content on the stage, but these frames are not editable. Now insert keyframe F6. This adds an editable keyframe, but it also copies in content from the previous keyframe. This is helpful in animating objects since it gives you another instance of the object to work with. Now insert blank keyframe, that is F7. This also adds an editable keyframe, but it will be blank. This is useful. You have ended an animation and want to start with nothing in that frame. Now open the following demo saved as basic animation demos frame by frame car.fla. Now you will find that a car is being animated across the screen. Here we have a car. We can see This is a car, and you people will see that this car is moving. Okay. Now we have flash storage work. Flash memory is a solid state click that maintains stored data without any external power source. It is commonly used in portable electronics and removable storage devices and to replace computer hard drives, changing the pacing and timing. The car takes about 1 second to get from the beginning to the end. This movie plays at 12 frames per second. To make the car move more slowly, we need more frames. You could click and drag the keyframes to a later point on the timeline. This will stretch out the length of the animation, but it will still be jumpy. To make it less jumpy, you need not just more frames but more keyframes as well. Now, this would allow the car to move less each time, giving the illusion of smooth transition. Previewing the animation. So, before completing our animation, we can preview our animation. That means we can view our animation. Now, in addition to scrubbing the timeline, another way to test the movie is to preview the SWF. This will actually publish a .swf extension file to the same folder as the .fla extension document. The SWF file is the file that will play in the internet browser. It is a file which must be uploaded to the web server upon completion of the project. Make sure you publish all relevant files as Flash will often create several companion files to have the .swf extension file. Work on a public website. During the local preview, you will not need to concern yourself with companion files. Preview the SWF by pressing Ctrl plus Enter, that is Command plus Return on a Mac, or select Control, then Test Movie and then Test. So, by this method, we can change our pacing and timing. Now, here we have types of animation. So, animation refers to the drawings made and compiled in a manner to show movement. This is nothing but animation. And animation is Flash can be done in following ways. These are frame by frame animation and tweened animation. So let's learn firstly frame by frame animation. So frame by frame animation changes the content of the stage in every frame. It is the best suited to complex animation in which an image changes in very frame instead of simply moving across the stage. Frame by frame animation increases file size more rapidly than tween animation. In frame by frame animation, animate CC formerly Flash Professional CC stores the value for each complete frame. Now, to create a frame by frame animation, define each frame as a keyframe and create a different image for each frame. Each new keyframe initially contains the same content as the keyframe preceding it, so you can modify the frames in the animation incrementally. Click a layer name to make it the active layer and select a frame in the layer where the animation is to start. Then, if the frame is not already a keyframe, select insert, then timeline, then keyframe, and then create the artwork for the first frame of the sequence. Then use the drawing tool, paste graphics from the clipboard or import a file. Now, to add a keyframe whose content are the same as the first keyframe, click the next frame to the right in the same row. Now select insert, timeline, then keyframe, or right click Windows or control click, that is Macintosh, and select insert keyframe. Now to develop the next increment of the animation, alter the content of this frame on the stage. To complete your frame by frame animation sequence, repeat steps 4 and 5 until you have built the desired motion. To test the animation sequence, select Control, then play or click or play button on the controller window toolbar controller. Now the second type of animation is twinned animation. Twinning in animation is a short for in-betweening, the process of generating intermediate frames between two images to give the appearance that the first image involves smooth into the second image. It is when you need to change the shape or position of the object at a fixed interval of time. Twin animation has smaller file sizes. The two types of twin animations are motion twinning, shape twinning, and frame by frame twinning. So, motion twin. This is one of the basic animation technique. Motion twin refers to any object that travels from one point to another point and involves no change in shape and size of the object over a period of time. However, changes may occur in color, texture, distance of the object. Now, animation with a motion twin. A motion twin is a feature available in Adobe Flash that allows you to easily animate the motion of the object. Select the number of frames in timeline you would use for the duration of the animation. Now the following demo is saved as basic animation /demo /cloud -done.fla. Take a look at the completed version. It has a motion twin on the timeline. Scrub the timeline and watch how even the cloud animation is. Also notice the blue section of frames which has been added to the timeline. This blue section is a motion twin. In this demo, you will see how to create that motion twin. So, close the completed file and open basic animation demo-cloud.fla. Examine the existing layer, structure and timeline. After that, you will find one locked layer name that is grouped. Okay. After that, the second step is add a layer and name it clouds. Then drag an instance of the cloud symbol from the library onto your new layer in whatever you would designate as the starting position. Our example will start on the left and move to the right. Now, single click on the cloud instance, then select insert, then motion twin, and then right click and select create motion twin, and notice the change to the timeline. Flash just added frames on this layer. Now after that, drag the red play head to the last frame. This is where the animation ends. Now move the clouds to your desired ending position. This part of the animation will follow the line that appears on the stage. This line will not appear in your finished product. You may treat this line just as you would any other stroke. That means you may stretch or bend it in any way and the cloud will follow that path. Each dot on the line represents a frame. You can start to see how far your animation will move each frame. Now here, the step 9 says test the movie by pressing Ctrl Enter, that is Command plus Return on a Mac. Then select Control Test Movie Test. Okay, this was a second option. Now the step 10 says the ground layer only appears for one frame. So while your clouds might move, the ground disappear after one frame. Adding frame to the ground layer will fix this. Check how many frames were added to the clouds layer. Now Flash added 24 frames to ours. Since you want the ground layer to be there the whole time, so it should have the same number of frames as the cloud layer. Now after that, select the last frame on the ground layer and press F5 to add frames. That is insert, then timeline and then frame. This is the step number 2 for the same thing. Now demo. In this exercise, you will animate an airplane with a motion twin. There, there will be two separate animations. The first shows the plane running along the runway. In the second, it is taking off. So, first you have to do, open the file saved as basic animation slash exercise slash airplane.fla. It is shown below. Now notice that the layer structure matches the clouds demo. In fact, you may use your cloud file in the exercise if you prefer. Now after this, add a new layer and name it airplane. Now select the new layer and open the library. Drag an instance of an airplane onto the first keyframe of the new layer. Now single click on the airplane instance to select it and add a motion twin by right clicking or choosing insert motion twin from the menu. Then step 6 says Flash just added the default number of frames for a new twin, about 24. Now drag the playhead to form to frame 12 or about halfway to the end of the animation. Now position the airplane about the halfway across the screen as shown below. Now after that, to complete the second part of the animation taking off, drag the playhead to the last frame and reposition the airplane once again. See below, this time position the plane in the air at the end of the timeline. Now after that, we have to, when you run the movie, you might decide that it is moving too quickly. By adding more frames, the animation will take more time. That means it will get slow. Now for layers with teens, you can simply drag the end of the last keyframe to the some frame in the future. On layers without trains, use a Ctrl plus click and then drag the end of the last frame of a later frame. Now after that, adjust your animation until you are satisfied. Test the movie to watch your animation and you will see your desired animation will start. Now shape twinning. In shape twinning, you draw a vector shape at one specific frame in the timeline and change that shape or draw another shape at another specific frame. Now, shape twinning is a term used in Macromedia Flash to refer to the transition from one shape to another. Before we can create our twin, we are going to need the shape that will be used to produce the twin effect. And animate then interpolates the intermediate shapes for the frames in between, creating the animation of one shape morphing into another. Now, creating a simple motion twin is a very easy process. You need at least two vector shape, the initial shape and the final shape. You merely select the frame type as shape twin to make the first shape morph into the other during playback of the movie. Now let's do this step by step. First of all, in a new flash file, draw a circle in frame 1 and then in the same layer insert a blank keyframe in frame 10. Right click that frame and select insert black. And this is how we will insert blank keyframe. Now after that, draw a square in there. The sizes, positions, color of both objects do not matter. All that matters is that they are in the same layer. To do the magic trick, you have to select the first frame that you created. You do that by clicking on frame 1 of your layer in the timeline. Then you have to change the twin type from the properties inspector. If you cannot see this window, you can show it by going to the window, then properties. And in the properties inspector, simply change the twin to shape. You should notice that the frame color changes to green when shape twin is used. You are not required to make any more changes to see the effect working. You can just hit enter on your keyboard to see the animation rolling. You can easily make the square in turn morph to another shape. You do that by repeating the process. In this case, we can add another blank keyframe at frame 20 At frame 20, draw a circle this time in there. Now select frame 10 on your layer and change the twin in the properties panel to shape. And this is how we can do it. Now our example was a very basic example of how to make a morphing effect in Flash. So we have used only one shape in each frame, while in reality you can put as many shapes in any frame. If the number of shapes in the first frame is less than those in the second frame, the shape will divide to create the new shape. If the case was the opposite, the shapes will combine to make up the new shape. Now frame by frame refers to the movement created. You can change the drawing in every keyframe. For example, you draw a square and in frame 20, you can change the square to a triangle. So that was about frame by frame. So student, here we have completed our chapter. Now we have key points of this chapter. Let's learn them, let's understand them so that we can rememorize our concept. Flash is an effective tool used to create animation for the web pages, as we all know that. Frames contained in each layer appear in a row to the right of the layer name. The timeline header at the top of the timeline indicates the frame numbers, and the playhead indicates the current frame displayed on the stage. As the document plays, the playhead moves from the left to right through the timeline. Now, Flash supports a type of animation that is frame by frame animation and twinned animation. In frame by frame animation, you can change content for each frame in the timeline. The two types of twin animations are motion twinning and shape twinning. Now, in motion twinning animation, you define content in first and the last frame of the animation. Okay. And then in shape twinning in animation, you draw a shape at one frame and in the timeline and change that shape to another shape at another specific frame. Now, classic twin refers to the twinning in Flash CS3 and earlier and is maintained in Animate primarily for transition purposes. So student, that was all about our chapter as well as about our key points. So, on the basis of given chapter, we are provided with a back exercise of the same chapter, which you people have to do by yourself. By the help of doing this, you people will be able to do so many questions and answers, and you people will be able to make so many animations when it's required. So student, in today's class, we will learn this much only. I will meet you in the next video with another amazing chapter. Till then, keep on learning, stay healthy, take care, bye bye.